Sorry, I'm thinking out loud now. You'd think that with my life and with my history, social services would be, like, they would have me a lot more. There'd be a lot more structured support. There'd be support in school for me because they know that I grew up in a cult where education was peak. In a circle with a chalkboard, and the education I was receiving for months was the rules that I learned and the rules that brainwashed me and whatever.
I took part in a ritual. I was forced to take part in this ritual because my biological father told me that if I ever wanted to see my siblings again, I was going to have to do this, and if I didn't want anybody around me to get hurt, I had to continue to be the sacrificial lamb as I was taught to be. All I've ever done in my life is I've tried to protect them and their mum, and now I'm the one who's here without family, and I'm just guiding myself through life in the system, and I'm choosing to speak about my life now.
Today, I'm sharing a story that is both shocking and heartbreaking. A story that will shake you to your core. It's about a young girl who experienced the ultimate betrayal by someone who should have been her protector, her safe haven, her own father. Instead of being nurtured and loved, she was subjected to relentless physical, emotional, spiritual, and sexual abuse. But the torment didn't stop there. Her father forced her to participate in disturbing rituals, acts twisted and cruel, designed to manipulate and control her, using fear as a weapon to test whether she would survive another day. These rituals weren't just traumatic, they were calculated acts of psychological warfare. All she ever wanted was what every child deserves, to be loved, valued, and accepted by the people who gave her life. Instead, she lived in constant terror, knowing those same people could threaten to take her life away at any moment. She endured years of unspeakable pain that words can barely capture. Forced to mature far beyond her age, she carried the weight of her trauma in silence. She became the shield for her younger siblings, taking on the heaviest blows to protect them, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Her childhood was stolen, her innocence stripped away, yet she held on to something that couldn't be broken, her will to survive. Today, we have the honor of hearing from this incredibly brave young woman as she opens up about her journey, one marked by unimaginable suffering, but also incredible strength, resilience, and hope. Let's listen closely as she shares her story of survival, healing, and the power of reclaiming her life.
My life story and what led up to me being taken from the house and away from my siblings. So when I was younger, I was living with my biological mother and my other siblings. I don't share the same dad as my biological siblings from my mum's side. My biological father went to court against my mum to get visitation rights. So it started off as us having supervised visits in the local McDonald's, which my mum was supervising. Later on, it then became I got to spend weekends with him at his house, so he'd pick me up Friday and drop me on Sunday at 4 o'clock. Then it gradually increased to splitting holidays, so I'd spend 1 week with my mum and another week with my biological father. So during those weekends with him, I'd spend some time with my cousins, but most of the time with him. We lived in many different houses, but the one that I can remember where things were specifically going on, it was basically a 1-bedroom house. So the bedroom was there and the kitchen was like right in front of us, and the toilet was just next to the kitchen. I remember there just being loads of men and loads of like drugs, like drinking. So because this place was really small, the area was really packed up. So when he was giving me to men, some of them would like take me in their van, some of them would take me to other places. I don't specifically remember like how it started. I just remember since a young age him giving me to people, and then the practices that we had to do within the group that he was a part of was just happening. So it became a thing of every other weekend, basically, he would sit me down, he would teach me the rules of how this is normalised, how this is what's meant to happen, how men are allowed to touch you, how you're now a part of this, and this is because God has put you on this earth to satisfy men and to satisfy the things that I tell you to do, and all of that stuff. He was very violent with me, but I normalised it, and I thought if he's not violent, then he doesn't love me. So I thought that was his way of showing love. In year 6, I ended up leaving my mother's house. I ran away and I went to go and stay with my biological father. And at this point, my little brother was born and my stepmom came into the picture, and he'd been married and they had their first child together. During the summer of year 7, when I initially went to go and first live with my biological father, I'd spent the summer with different men They were hurting me. They'd put me on mattresses, tied up, and people getting paid to hurt me and to touch me and to do things to me however they wanted. And growing up, I strongly believed that these are the rules that he set for me, and I believed in them. We do rituals, we'd read the Bible, and they'd use God as an explanation as to why this happens. So they use teachings from the Bible, for example, when Jesus had to endure a lot of suffering to be able to save us from original sin. And they often use that as an example as to why that applied to me in my life, because I had to save those around me and I had to basically be the sacrificial lamb. So then not long after, there was the sacrifice ritual in where they'd cut me and they'd harm my body and they'd pray that this continued. It only just got worse after that, and year 7 was starting, and I was still being passed around to people. I was still having to get hurt, and I was still being forced to take part in intercourse. Then my biological father started to become a lot more aggressive towards my stepmom, and that's when everything changed, and that's when the situation escalated even further. So when year 7 had started, I had started at a first school and then I got taken out, and then I started my next secondary school about 3 weeks later than everyone else. Now at this point the violence was really bad, and the violence then went on to my stepmom. My biological father was starting to hurt her as well, and I'd had to make loads of calls to the police, and it was put down as domestic violence. We were in harm's way, and there were loads of times where we had to run away to cousin's house, sleep in the car, and when my biological father did leave the house, we'd have to barricade the door so that he couldn't come in. Now, because of the rules that were set for me, and because I couldn't watch my stepmom get hurt, I physically started to intervene in the situations, and I started to beg my biological father to hurt me even more if that was going to stop him from hurting my stepmother. So my stepmother had fled with the 2 kids, and they went back to the country that she originally came from, and I bounced around from cousin's house to cousin's house, and this was during Christmas 2019. And then eventually when I had to go back to school, it was just me and my biological father in the house, and that period I was hurt every single day, and I was really upset with my stepmother for leaving me by myself with him, because he was leaving me with men, and men were coming to the house and they were doing all sorts of things to me, and I didn't have any protected adult around helping me, and my stepmom was the adult who did know what was going on, and she left me. But then I told myself that it's not her job to help me, it was my job to help her. So to stop my stepmother from getting hurt and to get her to come back to the UK with my siblings, I took part in a ritual. I was forced to take part in this ritual because my biological father told me that if I ever wanted to see my siblings again, I was going to have to do this, and if I didn't want anybody around me to get hurt, I had to continue to be the sacrificial lamb as I was taught to be. My stepmother came back and she was well aware of everything that was going on. She knew from the beginning about what he was doing to me, but my stepmom was also a victim to my biological father. She had also experienced him hurting her. She knew how he was like, and he is a very strong, physically strong person, and he knows how to get into our heads, and this is what we knew and this is all I knew. And so I believed that the role that I was playing in helping my family and to protect them was right. So when friends would tell me that, this is wrong or you need to speak to someone, I didn't agree with them, because I was taught that you shouldn't let the outsiders talk you into talking about me, or not to talk about what goes on in this house. I'm your master, you obey me, and things like that. Now, my stepmom would often just sit and watch me get hurt. I would call out to her while they were hurting me, sometimes when it was a lot and there was loads of people on me, or if I was being really badly injured and I needed her to intervene. She wouldn't call the police how I called the police for her. She wouldn't intervene how I intervened for her. And eventually she went through a really bad depression where she didn't leave her bed, where she just stopped talking and she stopped eating, and I forgave her because I can't hold hate in my heart. That's not how I was, and that's not how I am. And I knew that my job and abiding by the rules is that I'm the sacrificial lamb and not her. So despite her being the adult, it was my job to protect us, not her job. So on a day-to-day basis, what my biological father was doing to me was he was letting people come to the house and hurt me. He was letting them take me to their vans. They were cutting me. They'd burn me. And they'd sometimes withhold food from me as well. But I always prioritised the food that we had for my siblings because I could go without, but they're just innocent babies through all of this and they didn't deserve to not have food. Now, my body is marked. My body is badly marked. And obviously going to school, I had to make sure it was covered up and I had to make sure that nobody knew about it because I had to abide by the rules that were set for me and because I loved my biological father and I thought that this was normal and I thought that it happening to anybody else wasn't right, but it happening to me was right. So I covered for him a lot. When social services did ask a few questions, I always made up an excuse and they believed it, but they weren't really involved at this point. So following years of people hurting me, cutting me and forcing me and doing all sorts to me, I was in year 9 and I'd gone to school and that morning was really hectic because that night going to bed I was really tired because I don't sleep properly at night time because I have really bad nightmares, and I left one fork in the sink and I hadn't finished washing up, but I'm so sorry, but my sister had woken up and she's not allowed to wake up during the night because of the things that happened during the night. And when I was putting her to bed, I'd fallen asleep with her and my biological father had woken me up and he had beat me very, very badly. He beat me with a bat, he was choking me, and the mirror that we had in our house, he'd thrown that on me and so that cut me and my arms were really bad and my lip was really swollen. So that was my lip on that occasion. So I went to school and everyone was used to seeing me come to school with ice packs, bandages, and my friends bringing first aid for me. I told the teachers that I bumped into a pole and they took the story. I don't think they believed me, but they took the story and nothing happened that day. So my stepmom had come up with a plan that day, as it was the day of my injection, that I wouldn't cover my bruises and it'd give me a space to be able to open up about what was going on inside the house and it would allow us to be able to escape my biological father. Now that was the plan and I followed through with the plan, but something happened along the way which changed the plan and put me in a bad position on my own. I did exactly that on the day of my injection in year 9, and the woman giving me the injection questioned me, and then later on safeguarding came to me, and it took me time to say the story because I was scared, because my biological father was reminding me throughout the day that I had to go and get my siblings from school, and then they had a job for me to do afterwards. Now, I told safeguarding about how my biological father was beating me up and about the objects he'd used and the things that he was doing to me. That was the day I got taken from the home. Now, I thought my stepmother was going to go along with the plan because this was the plan that we both came up with to escape him. She backed out. She didn't follow the plan and I had to go and stay at a friend's house until they could find me somewhere else to stay. My biological father got arrested. My stepmother had called me and she'd said she's not doing this anymore and to stop speaking and she loves him and why are we going against his rules? This is what we need to do. But it was too late because I'd said enough already. That was the last morning I had with my siblings. And since then, I've never seen them ever again. Now, I got put in foster placements. I moved around a lot. I've been in loads of foster placements. My stepmother cut contact with me because I was cooperating with the police, because I thought that the police would save my stepmom and the kids as well. So there was a police case against my biological father and my stepmom. My stepmom was being charged with my biological father because they said she was an adult who had a duty of care and She didn't care for me. Now, I continue to defend my stepmom. I continue to say that she was also a victim and she's just too scared to speak up because this is just our life and we don't know anything different to this. Now, this continued being investigated for a very long time because that case started when I was in year 9, in July of year 9, just before the summer holiday, and the case only went to court last year. So I had to testify without my stepmother testifying as well about how my biological father was. I'm not sure why, and I don't understand why, especially with the evidence that I did give. The jury was hung, so I asked for a retrial, and I got a retrial, and the case was tried again in December 2023. And at the beginning of this year, I found out that the jury was hung again. So I've been holding on to this case since I came into care because my biological father has refused contact between me and my younger siblings because I've broken free from their group and that this is against the rules that they had for me. And so I don't deserve to see my younger siblings. And because everybody in my life knows how much my younger siblings mean to me and they're a weak spot for me. So he knew that me not seeing them was going to hurt me a lot, and I think that's what he's intended to do. My biological father being convicted meant that the court would be able to override his decision on whether or not I could see the kids, but it was a hung jury, so I'm still without them. Social services have not provided me with a reasoning as to why the kids are still in the home, and I've had loads of questions of why are the kids still in the home, why is the decision up to him. I think the exact same thing as you guys, and I have fought and I have spoken up so much about my younger siblings and I worry about them all the time, but I can't do anything. I can't just show up, I can't just go there, I can't just call them. I can't do anything but continue to use my platform to speak about them and continue to talk to the professionals around me, because I don't know why they didn't take them as well. I don't know why they're still not letting me see them. I don't know why a lot of things, because even whilst I've been in care, I've been in a lot of harmful situations, and the same thing that happened to me outside of care happened to me inside of care, and it never really stopped. So there was no point of them taking me away from him because it never actually stopped, because I continued to protect them from a distance. Now, I don't have all of the answers that people are asking me for. It feels like every time I talk about my siblings to social services and professionals, no one has the answers for me. It feels like it's a forbidden topic. So I'm really out of options on what I can do to get them back. And I don't know why the decision is up to him. I don't know why. So these are my 2 younger siblings. There's an additional baby who I've never met yet. And I love all 3 of them. And my siblings mean the world to me, and all I've ever done in my life is I've tried to protect them and their mum. And now I'm the one who's here without family, and I'm just guiding myself through life in the system, and I'm choosing to speak about my life now. Now, there are loads more other stories I could give to you guys about all of the other bad things that's happened to me in care, but I'm gonna let you guys watch this video first. But also let's bear in mind that this is just a brief summary. This is not in detail.